The sun was setting behind the tall buildings of the city when a man named Adam stepped out of a taxi. He stood still for a moment, looking at the tall glass building in front of him. It was a hotel, shining with golden lights with a red carpet stretched at the entrance. The name of the hotel was written in bold letters on the top. Guests were walking in and out, some pulling suitcases, some chatting with friends, and some taking photos near the fountain. Adam carried only one black bag with him. To anyone else, he looked like a simple traveler. But in truth, Adam was not just another guest. He was the real owner of the hotel. He had built this hotel years ago with his hard work and dreams. Over time, he had hired managers and staff to run it while he worked on other businesses. He had not visited in months. He wanted to see how things were really going, not through reports or emails, but with his own eyes. That was why he came undercover, not telling anyone who he was. As Adam stepped forward, a doorman in a clean uniform opened the glass door. "Welcome, sir," the doorman said with a polite smile. Adam nodded and walked inside. The lobby of the hotel was bright and wide. The marble floor shone under the chandeliers. Sofas were placed near the walls, and a water fountain made a soft sound in the middle. A smell of fresh flowers came from a vase on the front desk. Adam walked toward the reception desk. Two staff members were standing there, one busy with a guest and the other checking something on the computer. Adam noticed how the staff moved, how they smiled, and how they spoke. He was silently judging every detail. To him, the hotel was not just walls and rooms. It was the people who worked here. Their behavior made the place alive. When it was his turn, the young woman at the desk looked up and greeted him. "Good evening, sir. Welcome. Do you have a reservation?" Adam smiled politely. "Yes, the name is Adam," he said. He gave his booking number. The woman typed on the computer and nodded. "Yes, we have your room ready. 1 deluxe room, 3 nights, city view." She spoke in a professional voice, though her smile looked a little forced. Adam noticed it but said nothing. She handed him the key card and pointed to the elevators. "Your room is on the 7th floor. Breakfast is served in the main dining hall from 7 to 10. If you need anything, please call the front desk." Adam thanked her and walked to the elevator. He pressed the button and waited. 2 other guests stood nearby. They were talking about their travel plans. Adam listened quietly, pretending to be an ordinary guest. Inside his mind, however, he was already making notes. The lobby looked good. The furniture was clean. The service seemed polite, but something about the smiles of the staff felt less warm than he wanted. The elevator arrived and Adam stepped inside. He pressed the button for the 7th floor. The ride was smooth and soon the doors opened. The hallway was quiet with soft lights glowing on the walls. Adam walked to his room and opened the door. The room was large with a king-size bed, a desk, a small sofa, and a window that showed the busy city outside. The curtains were soft and clean, the bed was well made, and the air smelled fresh. Adam placed his bag on the table and sat on the sofa. He looked around carefully. Everything seemed fine, but he knew looks could be deceiving. What mattered most was how the staff treated people. He leaned back and thought about his plan. He wanted to stay as a guest, watch everything, and then reveal his identity at the right time. His goal was not to find mistakes just for the sake of punishing people. He wanted to know the truth. Were his staff kind? Did they treat guests with respect? Did they carry the values he had dreamed of when he built this place? After resting for a while, Adam decided to explore the hotel. He went down to the dining hall. The smell of food greeted him as he entered. Guests were sitting at tables enjoying meals. Waiters moved quickly, carrying trays, filling glasses, and clearing plates. Adam sat at a corner table and ordered a simple dinner. The waiter who came to his table was polite but spoke in a rushed tone, as if he was in a hurry. Adam noticed how the waiter treated other guests too. Some guests got quick attention, while others were ignored for a few minutes. It was small, but Adam noticed everything. As Adam ate, he saw a family with a small child struggling to find a chair. No one helped them. They had to pull chairs by themselves. Adam frowned. He believed service was not just about food or rooms. It was about helping, caring, and making people feel welcome. After finishing dinner, Adam returned to the lobby. He sat on one of the sofas, pretending to read a newspaper. From this seat, he could observe the front desk, the bellboys, and the guests who walked in. He saw an old man struggling with his suitcase near the door. A bellboy was standing just a few feet away, talking to another staff member and laughing at something on his phone. The bellboy did not notice the old man. Adam stood up and helped the old man himself. The man thanked him kindly. Adam smiled but felt disappointed inside. Later that night, Adam returned to his room. He wrote notes in a small notebook he carried. He wrote about the smiles, the waiters, the bellboy, the family, and the old man. He wrote everything down. Tomorrow he would watch more. He wanted to see the hotel in its true colors, not the polished picture that managers painted in reports. Adam sat near the window, looking at the city lights outside. He thought about the long journey he had taken in life, from a poor young man to a successful owner. He remembered the early days when he worked long hours, serving tea to guests, cleaning rooms by himself, and saving every coin to build something greater. He had promised himself that his hotel would always be different. It would be a place where everyone felt valued, where no one was judged or mocked. But now, sitting in his own hotel as an undercover guest, he felt uneasy. Something was missing. He could sense it in the way staff moved, in their half-smiles and in their careless moments. It was not yet clear, but Adam's heart told him that the true test was coming soon. That night, as he turned off the light and lay down on the bed, Adam whispered to himself, "Tomorrow will show me more." He did not know then that the next day would bring a moment that would shock him deeply, a moment that would test not only the staff but also his own patience. A guest would arrive who needed kindness more than anyone else, and how the staff treated that guest would change everything. Adam closed his eyes, ready for the next day, not as an owner but as a hidden witness inside his own hotel. The morning sun shone through the tall windows of the hotel lobby. The chandeliers sparkled, and the marble floor looked even brighter than the night before. Guests came down from their rooms one by one, some carrying briefcases, others with cameras ready to explore the city. Adam was already awake. He had eaten breakfast in the dining hall and now sat in the corner of the lobby with a cup of tea. He looked like a simple guest reading the newspaper, but his sharp eyes were studying every move of the staff. He wanted to see how they treated guests in the busy hours of the morning. The receptionist greeted people with polite smiles, though Adam still noticed the same stiffness in their voices. The bellboys carried bags, but sometimes they whispered and laughed among themselves when they thought no one was watching. Adam wrote small notes in his pocket notebook. While Adam sat quietly, the main door of the hotel opened. A man in a wheelchair rolled inside. He was middle-aged, wearing a plain shirt and trousers. He had a small bag on his lap and a determined look on his face. Adam could see right away that the man moved slowly and with effort, but there was pride in the way he pushed the wheels of his chair. Behind him came a boy, around 12 years old, carrying another small bag. The boy's eyes looked bright but also a little worried. He stayed close to the man, sometimes pushing the chair gently to help. Guests in the lobby turned their heads for a moment and then went back to their own business. Adam sat up straighter. He felt something important was about to happen. The man in the wheelchair stopped near the reception desk. His son stood beside him. The receptionist looked up from the computer and gave a smile, but Adam noticed it was different from the smile she had given other guests. It was quick, thin, and a little forced. "Good morning," the man in the wheelchair said in a calm voice. "I have a reservation under the name Mr. Samir." The receptionist tapped the keys on her computer and found the booking. "Yes, Mr. Samir, 1 room, 3 nights, city view." Samir nodded politely. "Yes, that is correct." The receptionist prepared the key card, but Adam noticed something strange. While she was doing her work, 2 staff members standing nearby began to whisper. One of them covered his mouth with his hand and chuckled. The other leaned closer, saying something that made both of them laugh quietly. They looked at Samir and then quickly turned their eyes away when he glanced in their direction. Adam's chest tightened. He could not hear the exact words, but he could feel the tone. It was not kindness. It was mockery. Samir did not seem to notice, or perhaps he chose to ignore it. He took the key card from the receptionist and thanked her. "Is the room easy to reach?" he asked. "I need to make sure the wheelchair can move comfortably." The receptionist hesitated for a moment. "Yes, I think so. There might be a small step near the bathroom, but—" She trailed off and gave a half smile. Samir's son, whose name was Ali, spoke up. "My father can manage. Thank you." The boy's voice was polite, but Adam caught the tightness in his throat. It was clear Ali was protective of his father. A bellboy came forward to help with the bag, but as he lifted it, Adam saw him glance at another staff member and raise his eyebrows as if making a silent joke. The other staff member pressed his lips together to hide laughter. Adam gripped his teacup tightly. His heart burned. This was not what he had dreamed for his hotel. He had built it as a place of comfort and respect, but here he was, watching his own staff mock a man who deserved care and dignity. Samir and his son moved toward the elevator. The bellboy walked ahead with the bag. Adam quietly stood up and followed at a distance. He wanted to see what happened next. At the elevator, a group of guests stood waiting. The doors opened and people moved inside. Samir rolled his wheelchair forward, but the space filled quickly. The boy tried to guide him, but there was not enough room. Some guests stepped aside politely, but others looked impatient. The bellboy pressed the closed door button too quickly, almost shutting the doors before Samir and his son could enter. Ali quickly said, "Please wait," and pulled the wheelchair forward. The doors opened again and finally they entered. Adam was furious inside. He kept his face calm, but he wrote everything in his notebook. He wanted to see how far this behavior would go. On the 7th floor, Samir and Ali came out. The bellboy carried the bag into the room. When he left, Adam saw him walking back down the hall with a smirk on his face, whispering something into his phone. Adam had no doubt he was making fun of the guest. Later that afternoon, Adam returned to the dining hall for lunch. He sat in the corner again, pretending to be lost in thought. Soon he saw Samir and Ali arrive. The boy pushed the wheelchair slowly and they sat near the window. A waiter came with menus. His voice was polite, but Adam noticed his eyes shifting. He spoke in a tone that felt more like duty than service. When he walked away, Adam saw him pass by another waiter and laugh softly, tilting his head toward Samir's table. The other waiter shook his head with a grin. Adam's heart grew heavier. He was seeing his staff as he had never wanted to see them. It was not just one person, it was several of them behaving the same way. Not openly rude, but quietly mocking, giving half-hearted smiles, acting as though serving a disabled guest was a burden or a joke. As Samir and Ali ate their meal, Ali tried to keep cheerful conversation. "Father, the city looks so big from here. Maybe tomorrow we can visit the museum." Samir smiled warmly. "Yes, my son, we will go. Every place is open to us if we go with patience." Adam listened from his corner. He felt a deep respect for this man and his boy. They carried themselves with dignity even when others around them lacked kindness. When they finished their meal, Ali tried to push the wheelchair out, but the floor mat near the door made it difficult. The wheels got stuck and the boy struggled. Adam saw two waiters standing nearby. They could have stepped forward to help, but instead they looked at each other and chuckled quietly. Adam could not sit still any longer. He stood up and walked over. "Let me help you," he said to Samir and Ali. With one strong push, he moved the wheelchair over the mat. "Thank you," Samir said warmly. Ali looked up at Adam with grateful eyes. "Thank you, sir," Adam smiled kindly. "It is no trouble at all." He walked back to his table, but inside his heart was storming. These guests had come to his hotel to rest and feel welcome. Instead, they had to face cold smiles and hidden laughter. Adam had never felt so disappointed in his own staff. That night, Adam wrote in his notebook again. His words were sharp and angry. Staff mocked disabled guest. Laughed at table. Failed to help. Bellboy careless. Reception half-hearted. He wrote it all line by line, but as he wrote, he also thought carefully. He could not reveal his identity too soon. If he did, the staff might suddenly change their behavior, and he would never know their true hearts. He had to wait. He had to watch more. He had to see how deep this problem ran. Adam closed his notebook and looked out of the window at the city lights once again. The memory of Samir's quiet dignity and Ali's protective care stayed in his mind. "This hotel is supposed to be a place of honor," Adam whispered to himself, "but it has become a place where kindness is forgotten." He made a decision. He would continue to stay undercover. He would continue to observe. But soon, very soon, he would step in. And when he did, no one in that hotel would forget the lesson he would teach. Adam turned off the light and lay down, but sleep did not come easily. His heart was restless, and his mind repeated the same thought. Tomorrow will reveal even more. The next morning arrived with a soft glow of sunlight slipping through the tall glass windows of the hotel. The lobby filled with the sounds of rolling suitcases, clicking shoes, and polite greetings from the front desk. Business travelers hurried out with briefcases while families prepared for sightseeing. Adam sat in the corner again with a cup of coffee. To everyone, he still looked like a quiet guest, but inside he was more alert than ever. The memory of the previous day still stung him. He could not forget the hidden laughs, the careless smiles, and the silence of the staff when Samir and his son Ali needed help. Adam was a man who believed in patience. He knew he could have revealed his true identity the day before. He could have shouted in the lobby and fired the rude staff on the spot. But he wanted to see the full picture. He wanted to know if this behavior was a mistake of a few or the culture of the whole hotel. Samir and Ali came down later that morning. Samir was in his wheelchair wearing a neat blue shirt. Ali pushed him toward the front desk to ask about tourist spots in the city. Adam noticed how the boy's small hands pressed the handles firmly, showing his sense of duty toward his father. "Excuse me," Samir said politely at the desk. "Could you tell me the best way to go to the museum?" The receptionist looked at him for a moment and then quickly shifted her eyes to the computer. "The museum is not very far. You can take a taxi. Is there an accessible way for my chair?" Samir asked calmly. The receptionist hesitated. I don't know. Maybe you should ask the driver." Samir gave a gentle nod. Though Adam could see the small shadow of disappointment in his eyes, Ali noticed it too and looked down, biting his lip. Two other staff members stood nearby, whispering again. One of them shook his head slightly and smirked. Adam saw it. His heart clenched with anger, but he stayed still. He was the hidden witness, and he had to let the truth show itself more clearly. Later in the day, Adam decided to follow quietly when Samir and Ali left the hotel for their trip. He saw the doorman open the door but not offer extra help. He saw a bellboy look away when the boy struggled with the wheelchair on the small step outside. Adam walked slowly behind them, pretending to be another guest going out for a walk. Outside, Ali flagged a taxi. The driver stepped out and helped lift the chair into the car. Samir thanked him warmly. Adam felt a rush of respect for the driver, a stranger who showed more kindness in one moment than his own trained staff had shown in hours. When Samir and Ali returned in the afternoon, tired but smiling from their visit, Adam was already back in the lobby waiting. He wanted to see how the staff would treat them now. Samir rolled his chair forward and Ali carried a small bag with museum souvenirs. They looked happy, but their faces showed the strain of a long day. A bellboy walked past them carrying another guest's luggage. Adam noticed the bellboy glance at the wheelchair, and then roll his eyes as though it was a burden to see. He did not stop to help, though Ali struggled a little at the carpet near the door. Adam's jaw tightened. He pressed his notebook open and wrote quickly, "Staff shows no care. Child must do everything. Cold hearts, careless eyes." In the evening, Adam went to the dining hall again. This time he chose a seat close to Samir and Ali so he could hear their conversation. The hall was filled with soft music and the clinking of glasses. "Father," Ali said softly, "do you think people look at us differently?" Samir paused for a moment before answering. His eyes were calm, his voice steady. "People sometimes do not understand, my son, but we must not let their weakness become our burden. We live with dignity. That is enough." Adam's chest ached as he heard these words. He respected this man even more. Samir carried his pain with such quiet strength. Ali, though young, carried loyalty and love beyond his years. A waiter came to their table with menus. He placed them quickly and walked away, his tone flat. Adam saw him stop at another table where a group of tourists sat. There the waiter's voice changed instantly, bright, cheerful, full of energy. He cracked a small joke, making the tourists laugh. But when he returned to Samir's table, his tone turned dull again. Adam closed his eyes for a moment, steadying his breath. His heart told him that silence could not last much longer. Still, he waited. Halfway through dinner, Samir asked the waiter for an extra napkin. The waiter nodded, but took several minutes before bringing it. He passed by Samir's table twice, carrying other items to other guests, pretending not to notice the raised hand. Ali finally stood up and went to the counter to fetch the napkin himself. When the boy returned, Adam saw the flush of embarrassment on his face. He was young, but he understood more than the staff believed. He understood that his father was not treated the same as others. The sight cut deep into Adam's heart. He wanted to rise, to reveal himself right then, to scold the waiter in front of everyone, but he reminded himself of his mission. He was still the hidden witness. If he acted too soon, some staff might escape with excuses. He wanted no excuse. He wanted the truth laid bare. After dinner, Samir and Ali left the hall. Adam stayed behind for a while, watching the staff. Two waiters leaned against the wall, speaking in low voices. One of them made a hand motion, imitating the way Samir pushed his wheelchair. The other laughed softly, shaking his head. Adam's hand trembled as he wrote in his notebook. Disrespect in private. No compassion. Unfit for service. That night Adam could not sleep. He walked back and forth in his room, replaying every moment. The picture was now clear. This was not one mistake. It was not one careless worker. It was a sickness spreading through the staff. A sickness of indifference, of mockery, of forgetting that every guest deserved honor. He stood near the window and looked out at the shining city lights. His reflection in the glass looked tired, but his eyes burned with determination. "This hotel is mine," he whispered to himself. "It carries my name, my dreams, my blood. I will not allow it to become a place where the weak are mocked and kindness is lost." He closed the curtains and sat down at the desk. He opened his notebook again, reading the long list of failures he had recorded in the last 2 days. Each word felt like a wound to his heart. But each wound gave him strength. He made a decision. He would no longer remain silent for much longer. Tomorrow he would allow the staff one final test. Tomorrow he would see if there was even a spark of true service left in their hearts. If not, he would reveal himself, and the walls of the lobby would shake with his words. As the clock ticked toward midnight, Adam leaned back in his chair. His mind returned again and again to Samir and Ali, the father's quiet dignity, the boy's loyal care, their patience in the face of cold treatment. "They will not suffer in my hotel," Adam said firmly. "Not another day." He closed his notebook and placed it beside the bed. His decision was clear. The hidden witness had gathered enough truth. The time for silence was ending, and the time for action was near. Adam lay down, but his eyes stayed open for a long time. The darkness of the room seemed heavy, but in his heart a flame of justice burned bright. Tomorrow would bring the turning point. Tomorrow the mask of an ordinary guest would fall, and the true face of the owner would rise. And when it did, no staff member would forget the lesson. The morning was quiet inside the hotel. Sunlight spilled through the tall glass windows of the lobby, painting the marble floor with golden light. Guests moved in and out, their footsteps echoing gently. For most, it was just another day of travel. But for Adam, this day carried weight. He sat in the corner again with a notebook on his lap and a cup of tea by his side. His eyes were steady. The last 3 days had shown him the truth of his hotel. Polished walls, clean rooms, shining chandeliers. Yet beneath all of it, a heartless attitude had grown among some of his staff. Adam knew that silence could not last. He had watched enough. He had recorded enough. He had seen how Samir, the disabled guest, and his young son Ali were treated. He had seen the mocking smiles, the lazy hands, the whispered jokes. His heart told him today was the time to step out of the shadows. Samir and Ali entered the lobby around mid-morning. Samir's hands pressed the wheels of his chair while Ali walked close beside him, carrying a small bag with water bottles. They looked tired but cheerful, as though they had decided not to let the world's coldness steal their peace. "Father," Ali said softly, "maybe today we can rest a little." Samir smiled kindly. "Yes, my son. We will rest. Patience makes every day easier." Adam's chest tightened again at those words. Samir carried wisdom even in hardship. His dignity made Adam respect him more than ever. Samir rolled toward the reception desk. He asked politely about nearby gardens where he and Ali could relax. The receptionist answered quickly, almost brushing him off. "Yes, there is a park near the river. You can ask a taxi driver to take you." Her voice carried no warmth, only formality. Ali thanked her, but Adam noticed her eyes shift to a colleague who smirked back. Adam's fingers curled into fists. A bellboy nearby whispered something to another staff member. Both looked at Samir's wheelchair and then shared a laugh. They thought no one was paying attention, but Adam was watching. His heart thundered. Samir began moving toward the elevator. Ali pushed gently, guiding his father. As they passed, one waiter walking by made a careless comment under his breath. Adam heard it clearly this time. It was not a word of kindness, it was mockery. That was enough. Adam stood up from his seat. His notebook closed with a snap. His tall figure moved across the lobby, his steps strong and certain. The quiet guest everyone had ignored for 3 days was no longer quiet. "Stop," Adam said in a firm voice. His tone cut through the air like a blade. The staff froze. Guests in the lobby turned their heads. Samir and Ali stopped too, looking back in surprise. The waiter who had spoken under his breath stiffened, his smile fading. The bellboy dropped his gaze. The receptionist straightened nervously behind the desk. Adam's eyes were sharp. He looked at each of them in silence, letting the weight of the moment fall. Then in a calm but powerful voice he spoke. "For 3 days I have watched this hotel. For 3 days I have seen how my guests are treated. And for 3 days I have kept silent." He paused, his voice echoing in the wide lobby. But no more. The staff blinked, confused. Some glanced at each other, wondering who this man was. Adam stepped closer to Samir and Ali. He placed a gentle hand on the wheelchair and looked directly at the boy. "I saw everything," he said softly. "I saw how you had to push alone when others looked away. I saw how you fetched napkins yourself while waiters ignored you. I saw the laughter, the careless eyes, the mocking behind your backs." Ali's eyes widened. His lips trembled as he whispered, "You saw?" Adam nodded firmly. "Yes, my boy. I saw it all." Then Adam turned, his voice rising again. "And I am not just another guest. I am the owner of this hotel." Gasps filled the air. Guests whispered. Staff members froze in shock. The receptionist's face turned pale. The bellboy's hand shook. The waiter who had whispered earlier took a step back, his mouth open in disbelief. Adam's presence filled the lobby like a storm. His eyes blazed with fire, but his voice carried a steady control. "This hotel was built with my hands, my sweat, my dreams. I built it to be a place of honor, a place where every guest is treated with respect, where no one is mocked, where no one feels less than another. And yet," he pointed sharply toward the staff, "yet I have seen with my own eyes how you have failed." No one spoke. The silence was heavy. Adam continued, his voice like thunder. "You smiled with false lips. You whispered cruel jokes. You looked away when kindness was needed. Do you think service is only for the strong? For the rich, for those who walk without difficulty? You are wrong. Service is for every guest, every soul who enters these doors." Samir lowered his eyes, uncomfortable with the scene. But Adam placed a hand on his shoulder gently. "Please do not be silent. This truth must be spoken." He turned back to the staff. "Do you not see this man? Do you not see his son? He carries more dignity in his silence than you carry in all your uniforms. He shows more strength in his patience than you show in your careless work. And yet you mocked him? In my hotel?" The staff stood stiff, their eyes lowered. Some guests in the lobby nodded in agreement, murmuring among themselves. Adam's voice softened slightly, but his words cut deeper. "When you mock a guest, you mock the very heart of this place. When you ignore kindness, you betray the soul of service. You wear uniforms, but you forget the honor behind them." He stepped closer to the receptionist. "You gave answers with no warmth. Would it have cost you anything to add kindness to your words?" She lowered her eyes, ashamed. He turned to the bellboy. "You carried bags but laughed behind backs. You think no one sees? The walls of this hotel see. The guests feel it. And I saw it." The bellboy swallowed hard, his face red. Finally, Adam turned to the waiter who had whispered earlier. His voice was calm but sharp. "And you? You dared to mock while serving food. Do you not understand? To serve food is to serve life, and you poisoned it with cruelty." The waiter trembled, unable to speak. Adam raised his voice again, filling the lobby. "This is not why I built this hotel. I built it to be a place where every guest, rich or poor, strong or weak, walks in with dignity and leaves with joy. You have turned it into a place of shame, but no longer." He paused, letting silence stretch. The weight of his words pressed on every corner of the lobby. Then he spoke firmly. "From this moment, things will change. Those who mocked will face consequences. Those who failed in kindness will be corrected. And those who cannot carry the heart of service will not remain in this place." The staff stood frozen, unable to move. Adam then turned to Samir and Ali. His face softened. He knelt slightly so his eyes met Ali's. "My boy, you should never have carried such burdens alone in this hotel. You should never have seen your father treated with less respect. I give you my word, this will not happen again." Ali's eyes filled with tears. He whispered, "Thank you." Samir placed a hand on Adam's arm. His voice was steady but gentle. "You have spoken with truth. I respect your courage, but remember, anger alone cannot heal. What matters is what you do after this moment. Adam bowed his head slightly. You are right. Words must be followed by action. And I promise you action will come. The guests who had been watching began to clap softly. The sound spread through the lobby, not like loud cheers, but like gentle support for the truth that had just been spoken. Adam stood tall again, his eyes sweeping over the staff. This hotel will rise again. It will remember its soul, and it begins now. The staff bowed their heads, some with shame, some with tears, some with fear, but Adam did not look at them with hatred. He looked at them with firm resolve, like a teacher who would not give up on his students until they learned. The moment passed into silence once more, but the air was different now. The truth had been revealed. The quiet guest was no longer hidden. The owner had spoken, and nothing in the hotel would ever be the same again. The day after Adam revealed his identity, the hotel felt different. The morning sunlight poured through the tall windows, reflecting off the shiny marble floors. But this time the light seemed warmer, almost as if the building itself understood that a change had begun. Guests moved about, smiling, chatting softly. Some glanced at the staff, noticing a new attentiveness in their behavior. Adam stood near the front desk, observing quietly. He did not need to hide anymore. The hidden witness was now the guiding hand. Today he would teach lessons that went beyond words. The staff gathered in the lobby as Adam called them together. Faces pale and nervous turned toward him. They had stayed silent yesterday, ashamed and afraid. Some avoided eye contact, but Adam's calm yet firm gaze met each one without anger. His eyes carried understanding, determination, and hope. Yesterday, Adam began, I spoke words you will not forget, but words alone cannot create change. Today I will show you the meaning of true service. You will not only work with your hands, you will work with your heart. The receptionist, whose name was Maya, lifted her eyes. Her shoulders were stiff with guilt. She nodded slightly, ready to learn. The bellboy Rashid fidgeted nervously. The waiter Imran looked down, ashamed but willing to listen. Adam guided the staff through the lobby. Every guest must feel valued from the moment they enter. Their smile, their patience, their comfort, these are not optional. They are the core of service. He stopped near the elevators where the space was narrow. Notice how accessible these elevators are. Every guest, whether they walk easily or use a wheelchair, must be able to move freely. Help without being asked. Do not wait for permission to show kindness. He turned toward Samir and Ali, who had come down from their room. Samir's calm presence and Ali's careful guidance gave the staff an immediate example of how patience and respect could shine even in challenging moments. Watch and learn, Adam instructed the staff. Observe how this father and son move. Observe their strength, their dignity, then serve with respect and care. For the next hour, Adam supervised as the staff practiced. Rashid helped Ali lift a bag into the elevator properly, with care and attention. Maya approached Samir politely, offering assistance and speaking in a warm, welcoming tone. Imran carried food trays to several tables, maintaining a smile and gentle attention to every guest. Adam watched them carefully. Mistakes happened, small hesitations, awkward gestures, but he guided them gently, correcting actions with patience rather than anger. Kindness must come naturally, he said, but it can be learned. Do not be afraid to show it. Samir and Ali observed quietly, still calm, still dignified. Their presence reminded the staff why their service mattered. Ali whispered to his father, Father, I think the hotel feels different today. Samir nodded. Yes, my son. When respect grows, the air changes. People feel it. Even the walls of this hotel seem to breathe better. By mid-morning, the staff began to work naturally. Smiles became genuine, voices warm, movements thoughtful. The laughter of yesterday was replaced by quiet cooperation. Guests noticed. Some stopped to compliment the service. Adam smiled subtly, proud but careful not to show too much. This was learning, not praise. At lunchtime, Adam joined Samir and Ali at a table near the window. The father and son looked relaxed, enjoying a meal without interruptions or mockery. Adam spoke softly. You handled yourself with such grace these past days, he said to Samir. You did not complain. You did not show anger. You only carried dignity. Samir smiled humbly. A hotel is not always perfect, but patience and understanding guide us. We give what we can. That is enough. Ali added, and sometimes people just need to see the truth. Then things can change, Adam nodded. Yes, Ali, and now the hotel will change. Not because of me alone, but because people understand what respect really means. After lunch, Adam called a meeting with all staff. He wanted to make the lesson clear and permanent. He spoke slowly, letting each word sink in. Service is more than just following instructions. It is more than wearing a uniform and cleaning rooms. Service is about seeing the person in front of you, valuing them, and making their experience better. This applies to every guest, no matter their age, their strength, or their abilities. Maya, the receptionist, raised her hand slightly. Sir, will there be ongoing training? I mean, to make sure we don't go back to the old ways? Adam smiled. Yes, Maya, training is important. But more than training, it is your heart. Every action, every choice matters. Do not wait for correction. See the need. Act with care, act with respect. He looked at Rashid and Imran. You laughed yesterday at a guest who needed help. Today you showed care. That is the lesson. Mistakes do not define you. What you do after defines you. The staff nodded slowly. Some eyes were wet with shame, others bright with understanding. Adam did not raise his voice, did not scold. His authority alone was enough. His presence reminded everyone that this was more than a job, it was a calling. Throughout the afternoon, Adam walked through the hotel observing. He saw a small girl struggling to reach the bell at the reception. Maya immediately stepped forward, smiling, helping her press it. He watched a guest with a heavy suitcase trying to reach the elevator. Rashid ran quickly to help, guiding the guest carefully. Imran carried trays to guests with attentiveness that had been missing before. By evening, the lobby felt alive. The air was filled with gentle chatter, laughter without cruelty, movements that were thoughtful and careful. The change was visible. Guests noticed it, and some thanked the staff directly. Adam returned to Samir and Ali, who were resting near the fountain in the lobby. Today the hotel feels like it should, Adam said softly. Your patience and dignity inspired change. Thank you for allowing me to see the truth of service through your eyes. Ali smiled brightly. It feels better here, Father. People are nicer. Samir nodded. Yes, my son. When truth is seen, hearts can open. Even a hotel can learn. Adam's eyes softened. Yes, even a hotel. Even people who work here. Everyone can learn kindness if they see it clearly. As night fell, the hotel's lights reflected on the polished floors. Guests moved calmly, enjoying their stay. Staff worked efficiently and kindly. Adam walked quietly through the hallways, stopping at each room to see if everything was in order. He listened to the sounds of polite conversation, soft laughter, and the quiet care that filled every corner. He paused near Samir and Ali's room. Tomorrow your stay will continue smoothly, he said. No one will mock you. No one will ignore your needs. You will be treated with respect at all times. That is my promise as the owner. Samir looked at him with gentle eyes. Thank you, Adam. You have restored not just the hotel, but faith and kindness. Ali hugged his father's arm, smiling. And I think people can always change if someone shows them the right way. Adam watched them leave for their room, feeling a deep sense of peace. He knew that change would not stop here. The staff had learned a lesson, but now it was up to them to keep it alive every day. The hotel had been tested and the soul of service had won. Before retiring to his own room, Adam gathered the staff one last time. Remember this day, he said. Remember that service is a privilege. Remember that kindness is strength. And remember that no one should ever feel small or ignored under this roof. Carry this lesson in your hearts always. And this hotel will shine not just in walls and chandeliers, but in every smile of every guest who walks through these doors. Maya, Rashid, Imran, and the rest of the staff nodded with sincere understanding. They had seen the truth, faced the consequences of neglect, and now carried the responsibility of honor. As Adam turned to leave, he looked at the lobby one last time. The fountains sparkled, the flowers smelled sweet, and the chandeliers glowed softly. But the real light was not in the marble or glass, it was in the hearts of the people who worked there, newly aware of the weight of their service. Adam smiled quietly to himself. The hotel had survived the test not because of him alone, but because dignity, patience, and kindness had been recognized and embraced. And in that quiet glow, Adam finally felt the peace he had come seeking. The peace of a hotel where respect was restored. Hearts were changed and lessons were learned. The hotel was no longer just a building. It was a home of dignity, and every person who entered would feel its heart from now on.